everyone, this is Jess from the Estevan Public Library, and for today's A to Z World Food Series, we are making hot cross buns. This tasty treat originates from Ireland, and you can usually find it around Easter time. The recipe I'm using today is a little complicated, so if you would like an easier one, follow along with the one found on our A to Z World Foods e-resource. For this recipe, you will need flour, milk, white sugar, dry active yeast, butter, vanilla, salt, ground nutmeg, clove, and cinnamon, 2 eggs, powdered sugar, and water. Let's get started. First, scald 2 cups of milk on the stovetop. Bring it to a simmer. Once it's simmering, take it off the element and set aside to cool. Next, in a large bowl, add a half a cup of warm water and 2 teaspoons of white sugar. Stir them together until the sugar's dissolved. Next, sprinkle over top 2 8-gram packages of dry active yeast. Let it sit for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, stir the yeast into the water to dissolve. Then add your milk and stir. To your yeast mixture, add 3 cups of all-purpose flour. Mix them together until the dough becomes smooth. When all the flour has been mixed in and the dough is smooth, cover the bowl with saran wrap or greased wax paper and a clean tea towel. Set the bowl aside for 15 minutes until the dough is bubbly and light. In the meantime, beat together half a cup of soft butter and 3/4 cups of white sugar. Beat in 2 eggs, one at a time. Next, add your salt and spices. You will need 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, an 1/8 teaspoon of nutmeg, and an 1/8 teaspoon of cloves. Next, add 1 cup of raisins, dried currants, or other dried fruit to your butter sugar mixture. For this recipe, I'm adding 1 cup of dried cranberries. Make sure to mix these in by hand. Your dough should be ready at this point. Pull it out and add your butter sugar mixture to your dough and mix everything together well. Next, add about 3 cups of flour to your dough. You want enough flour in the dough mixture so that it pulls away from the sides of the bowl. Once all the dough is pulling away from the sides, you're ready for the next step. Turn out your dough from the bowl onto a well-floured surface. Then knead for about 5 minutes until the dough is smooth and elastic. It's also handy to have an extra cup of flour set aside to add more flour to the work surface as you need it. When you're finished kneading, add your dough to a lightly greased bowl. Flip it over so all sides are covered. Cover the bowl with saran wrap and a clean tea towel and set it aside in a warm location for an hour or until it doubles in size. After an hour, punch down your dough, then divide it into 3 equal parts. Divide each portion into 12 pieces. Now it's time to shape the buns. Take one piece and fold it over until the ends meet. Use the heel of your hand to roll the dough together until the ends combine. You should end up with a round bun. As you finish the buns, place them on a greased 8x8 cookie sheet or pan. You may need 3 altogether. It's time for the final rise. Place a clean tea towel over each of your cookie trays and let the buns sit for about an hour or until doubled in size. When your buns are finished rising, use kitchen scissors, a knife, or a razor to cut crosses into the top of the buns. Careful not to cut too deep, or your buns may break apart while they're baking, or too lightly, otherwise the crosses won't show. When you're finished, place the buns into a 375-degree oven for 12 to 15 minutes, or until lightly golden brown. While the buns are cooking, it's time to make the glaze. Mix 1 cup of icing sugar, 1 tablespoon of milk, and 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla together to make a barely pourable mixture. If you find it's a little too hard to mix, add a tiny bit more of milk. When the buns are finished, set them on cooling racks to cool. As they cool, brush them each with melted butter. When the buns are cooled, add icing sugar over top of the cross cut into the buns. A piping bag will make this job much easier, but you can also use a spoon. When you're finished, serve and share with friends and family. This recipe makes about 36, and while it takes about 4 hours to make, it is well worth it. You can find the written recipe in the video description below, or you can find an easier version on our link to A to Z World Foods e-resource. I hope you can all join us for our next A to Z World Food series, but until then, enjoy!